But here's something I do want to point out, and it gets back to a couple of videos that I have seen, and one I'm going to do. Well, one Ask Dan Schneider I did, and one that I'm going to do. The one that I did, I was in an argument with Keith and Alex from the E-List about this video that I did about this PragerU University with this idea about poverty having been wiped out in the last 40 years. And I did a video where I showed how the misuse of statistics and whatnot. And Alex and Keith were arguing with me, claiming that, well, the bar graphs and whatnot that they use, they have a link to something and it explains it or whatnot. And I looked at them, and it actually doesn't really do it. And that wasn't the point of the video that I did. And then they'll talk about, well, people living on $1 a day in 1970, and I said how it doesn't account for it because they don't have the bar graph that shows, oh, this was $1 a day, which is now $6.30 a day. And anyway, we got into this big argument, and that they were not actually arguing. Well, they didn't seem to have even watched my video or understood the point I was making. And even explaining it to it, I would explain it and get it down into a paragraph, maybe 45 words in a paragraph. And then they would write back, and they would write back this long stuff. Alex would write maybe 8 paragraphs and maybe 600 words, and then Keith would write a long thing and whatnot. And despite a decade or more on my E-List in Alex's case and 8 or 9 in Keith's case, they still have not gotten how to really argue and how to put forth things and how to and it was very frustrating. And then I was looking recently at this thing. I don't know. Have you ever heard of the Monty Hall problem in logic? If you Google, and I'm going to do a video on this, the Monty Hall thing. There was a game show and that's now been revived called Let's Make a Deal, and the host was a guy named Monty Hall in the 70s. And so at the end of the show, the winner would be given its championship round, and there were 3 doors. And to win the car, there was a car behind one door that was the big prize, and the other 2 prizes had goats or some other thing that didn't win. And famously in 1990, this woman named Marilyn Vos Savant, the world's smartest woman, the highest IQ that ever was recorded for a human being at that time at least, had said that the setup is that you pick a door, and so the contestant picks one door they think the car is behind. Now, 2 of the other doors are going to have goats, 1 will have a car. So the idea is Monty, before he reveals one door that has a goat behind it, there has to be a goat behind at least one door, because if he's going to reveal one door and you've already picked one door, that means even if you pick one with the car, there's going to be 2 goats out there. So it doesn't matter which door he reveals. And if you have picked one with a goat, he knows which one has the goat and which has the car. He's going to reveal the other goat car. So the battle has always been, is it better to switch to your door? Because after the goat's been revealed, there are only 2 doors left. And Monty will say, well, you can now stick with the door you have to win the car, or go to the other door. So is it more salient, and is it a better choice to switch or to stay? Now, Vos Savant, lots of people, common sense-wise, said it doesn't matter because you've got 2 doors and you only have a 1 in 2 chance. But the argument that Vos Savant and a lot of mathematicians made was that you only have that you should switch, because there were 3 choices initially when you made, so you had a 1 in 3 choice. They take 1 away, you have so you'd have a 2 in 3 chance of hitting it. But that's totally wrong. And there have been people who have argued about this. If you look the Monty Hall problem up later, you'll see this. And even people...
Well, I mean, it's not just the Monty Hall problem. That's a classic kind of mathematical situation.
Yeah, but my point is, here's where people don't get it, is it's not a mathematical problem whatsoever. It's a semiotic problem, a problem with language. Because, and Marilyn Vos Savant said you should switch because you have a better chance of hitting on it. But it's totally wrong, because semiotically, we know that Monty Hall is going to have to, by the rules of the game, reveal one of the doors, and it has to be a door with a goat. And he has the 100% ability to always reveal a goat door, because there are 2 goats and one car. So if you pick the one with the car, one of the other two has to be a goat. And if you pick one with one of the goats, and he has, there's still a goat there that he knows which one has the goat. So he has the 100% ability to pick. So it's an illusion that you have a 1 in 3 choice. Now, whether the statistics are correct or not is beside the point. But the point is, semiotically, if you actually listen to the rules of the game, it's always a 1 in 50% chance that you're given. The fact that there's a third door that's going to be revealed, it throws people. But most people think that there's a 1 in 3 possibility. Most mathematicians think that there's a 1 in 3 choice that's actually being made, but it's always a 1 in 2 choice. And it shows you how much more difficult and how much more abstract language is than mathematics. This is why the greatest mathematical problem ever devised or yet to be devised and then be conquered is still not going to be as complex as, say, my Janie Fitz play, because semiotics is not as fixed as -1 or pi or whatnot. And so it's a perfect illustration where people don't get this. So I've been sort of frustrated with all my years of trying to get people to think logically and argue logically. I'm still butting heads. And then I see this thing with the Monty Hall thing, and even a woman with a high IQ, functional intelligence, not creative intelligence, because a really great creative mind could see the semiotic problem. But Marilyn Vaux-Savant is not a great writer. She couldn't see this. She can have the highest IQ going. It doesn't really matter. But it's not a mathematical problem. And they don't see that it's not a mathematical problem. It's a semiotic bait and switch. And so whenever you have just 2 choices, as you actually do in the Monty Hall problem, it doesn't matter. The question of should you switch or not is wrong, and it's a total misnomer, because it doesn't matter if you switch if you have a choice of 1 or 2. And this shows you, though, why art is so difficult and why art is the highest pursuit, is that so many people just they aren't wired for it. They do have a little, most people are bad with math, but you will find more people who at least have a little bit of understanding of math, whether it's algebra or trigonometry or calculus or geometry, and they're utterly fucking clueless about art, much less literature, which is the highest and most abstract of the arts. So it's very frustrating to do that. And this is why when you come across a great piece of literature, you are looking at mankind at its ultimate expression.